Hey. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Emily Albers with UKD. This is Courtney Bickelmeyer. I know you guys are familiar with us, aside from you, Kenny, from years past, and we are approaching year number 2 with UKD. So we're just going to dive into some of our services, some of our values that we bring. It's not only you guys, but our other similar clients. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, we are very heavy in the public sector, cities, counties, school districts. So that's a very specific segment when it comes to benefits and what we do really well, especially with Blue Cross. So we'll dive into some of that in the next couple of pages, but we just wanted to make that note as well. So here's your account team on this page right here. So again, this is what you're accustomed to right now. We have Mike Buchanan, he's the CEO of Buchanan Companies. We are local, we have an office in Leawood and also Lawrence and Topeka. So we have expanded a lot westward, southeast Kansas. We are all over the state. And with that growth, that's why we've opened up 2 additional offices. So with that, on the right-hand side is going to be your Buchanan team with me and Courtney. And under us, we have a whole team backing us. So if we're ever out doing things like this today, we want to make sure our clients have a whole team behind us to answer phone calls from you guys and your employees. On the left-hand side, you're going to find our compliance department. Mary Amundsen heads this up, along with Rachel Gast, who is the HR consulting leader, and Matt Miller for our in-house enrollment tool. So very important things, all things to the left are value add for our clients, and we'll continue those and get into more detail in a few pages. Okay, so Buchanan Companies, we are going on 30 plus years for being in the business. We are ranked top 4 in the Kansas City Journal world. Why that's very, very important. We are ranked top 4, but we are the only locally owned. The rest are national. So all 3 above us are nationwide. We're the only local privately owned company within that 4. We have 150 employees company-wide. Again, we're headquartered in Leawood, but have 2 other offices. We also have top carrier designations. We will get into this in a few slides, but this is very, very important. There at the bottom, we do not pigeonhole ourselves to Blue Cross. Yes, everyone loves Blue Cross, but we also play nice with Aetna, United Healthcare, Cigna, the BUCAs. So why this is very important is because whenever you get your renewal, it is not our intent to move you to United or Cigna, but we have to go to bat for you guys and beat up Blue Cross with rates from other carriers. So again, we have top designations with all other carriers, not just Blue Cross, which is very, very, very important at renewal time. And please stop me if you have any questions. We're going through this a little fast. Just want to get to the bulk of it. This next page is just going to mention some of our value adds. So again, we have more value added services offered in-house. We will get into those divisions and also those value adds here in the next couple of pages. But that bottom 96% client retention rate, that speaks for itself. That's what we do year after year for you guys. So we don't just come out the first year and sell you guys on what we can do on our price. We come and prove it every year, what we do with your employees throughout the year, and also the renewals that we bring and the strategies we bring. We'll get into how we do that in a few pages, but did want to point that out.
And on that retention rate, we do send that out every 2 years. So we make sure that we're consistently up to date. Our compliance manager takes care of all that in the marketing department. So we as the agents don't know, but just to make sure they get feedback, they ask questions to get all views, not just, hey, what are we doing? We talk to Janelle and her team all the time and you guys, but we also want to know, from the other side, how you guys feel too.
All right, the Buchanan difference. So as Janelle and her team know, we are very involved when it comes to open enrollment and throughout the year with employees. So we highly encourage employees to call us if they need an ID card, if they get a bill in the mail they don't understand. We are telling employees at open enrollment, don't call that 1-800 number to Blue Cross, call our team. We are your advocates. We know how frustrating insurance can be. We do it Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We want to help them and their dependents. Insurance is expensive, but we want to make sure that our clients and their employees know what they're using and get what they pay for. So again, prior authorizations, we moved you guys from the state plan, well, not we, you moved from the state plan a few years ago. And with that, change can be hiccups. So we were hand-holding every step of the way through the team, through employees, making sure that employees felt comfortable and knew that they could call us.
And they do call us too. Just so you guys know, we do have several employees who can't tell you what and how and when because of HIPAA, but we do keep track of all that, to make sure, again, too, so if we need to expand our teams and add more people behind the scenes, depending on how many phone calls we're getting, what that they need, because we want to make sure that that customer service is there. If you call, we answer. You're not going through, a ton of different people. You have direct lines, you can call us, but they do call. So that is really important because your employees here at the county definitely utilize all those services. And we're seeing an influx of different things like providers coding things incorrectly. So if somebody goes in for a sick visit, or if they go in for a physical, it's getting coded as a sick visit. And those are things people shouldn't have to pay extra already. It's expensive. So those should be covered at no cost because that's preventative care. So
Yes, just really an extension of your HR team. So this page right here is what we're offering to the team here at Dickinson County. Building audits, employee conversations, support at annual open enrollment. So a lot of those things that go on behind the scenes is that, the heavy lifting on our end to make sure your package runs smoothly throughout the year. All right, so the BKD difference, this just touches on our annual marketing strategies. This is very different. We are considered the BKD Bulldogs if you go for annual marketing. We don't care if you get a -5 or a +5 for your renewal, we're sending it out the door. And that's not just to make sure there's disruption with the carriers, it's to make sure your renewal is as low as possible. So that's what we're known for in the marketplace, is that carriers have to work to earn your business and keep it. So if you guys get a 5% with Blue Cross, we're sending it to United, Cigna, boutique TPAs, and that's just the heavy lifting on our end to make sure your rates are as low as possible. We've dealt with some pretty tough renewals at other counties, and where we've really shown our worth is how we can get that down. So Geary County is a fantastic example since we've been in the picture for the last 4 years. We've dealt with some really hairy renewals, some bad claim years, and we were able to work those down to low to no increase. And that's just our relationship with the carriers too and how we work. Proactive tools. So we really want to mitigate costs throughout the year. So that's when we're coming out here for quarterly review sessions with Marcus and team to say, hey, here's what we're seeing on the upspike claims. This is how we think we can mitigate it. Is there a high spike in diabetic population? Do we need to push out some information for the diabetics? So really trying to analyze your data throughout the year to make sure we can keep those costs down. So a lot goes into it.
yeah, the other thing that we'll get into in a few slides is right now, the big buzzword in the market is pharmacy spend. It's expensive, you're hearing it. Any commercial that you see, those are usually high cost drugs. So 10,000, 6,000, anywhere in those range. And so everybody is looking at self-funding. And you have to be really careful when you look at self-funding versus fully insured where you guys are at. You have to make sure you market correctly. You have to make sure the data is there, and that because if we tell you guys to go self-funded too soon, you can get upside down, which could have happened years ago, which might be why you were on the state plan, because that is typically what happens with public entities when they go to that self-funded and it's not managed correctly. It can get really bad really fast, and then you have to have other entities. So that's why we'll get into it in a few slides, but that's one of the things that we look at consistently. We're not just looking at it year over year. We're making sure we're looking at your claims month over month. We're constantly analyzing those. And the biggest difference too that is not on here, but we've kind of hit on it, is we do everything in-house. So we are not corporate America. So we don't send our analytics to Chicago or Philadelphia. That's one of the things that we think is really good to know the local markets. It's really important to us. That's why we're out here all the time, making sure we're talking to not only employees, but you guys as the employer and the hospitals, everybody, the carriers, because those relationships make a big difference when we're creating those plan designs and making sure that you guys are getting the best robust plans out there. So
Absolutely.
A few decades ago, the city tried the self-funding in part, and I don't think it a matter of being mismanaged, but the first year out of the gate, all of a sudden there were a disproportionate amount of claims compared to other years.
Right.
And so I mean, that's the thing is it sounds good in theory.
It does sound
if it works, but you kind of a roll of the dice.
It is.
You have to get 3 or 4 years under your belt.
Yeah.
And what's
I don't know. You were there, engineer, right, you left, yeah.
And what's great is you guys are going on 2 years off the state plan. This is your sweet spot. We have a really good grasp of your claims. This is where we shine, right? We have 2 years of data. This is where we can really tailor and get strategic and help get to where your benefits program can be the best of the best. Also worth noting, since you brought up the city, we did just recently partner with the school district. And by stepping in and fixing up, cleaning up, whatever you want to say, partnering with them, we did save them $600,000 from off the gate. So we can provide references on requests for that, but that's another good local story that we have.
6 figures.
6 figures, I'm sorry. 6 figures, not 600.
That helps the taxpayers though.
Yeah, exactly, right.
All right, so now getting into the good stuff, what you guys are doing and how your plan is running. So we're about a year and a half, gone a full year off the state plan, and you're about 6 months in with Blue Cross. So almost a 2-year savings. So when you were with the state plan, your medical spend was roughly $1.6 million. When we came in, we looked at all the carriers, United Healthcare, Blue Cross, Aetna, and United Healthcare had the best savings. So at that time, the decision was made to move to United Healthcare fully insured, and that spend was about $1.2 million. The 2025 UHC renewal came in a little over 20%, so at 1.5. Again, still under those state benefits, and since then, the state has gone up about 8% since when you guys were there in 2023. So the rates roughly are over $1,000 an employee only on some of those plans, just to give you a little bit of history there. We went to market, and because of the members, you guys have a very, I don't want to say unique group, but you have a lot of tenure here with employees, and people don't like change. So even if you tell them United Healthcare and Blue Cross, there is no difference when you go to the doctor. If you hand them a card, 99% of the time that's true. It's the one person that has an issue. So there was a lot of misinterpretation, and just they really did not want to move to United Healthcare. But for the savings that you guys were able to see, it was worth it. But with that, and talking to Janelle and her team and making sure you're really doing what's best for the employees, and where Blue Cross came in for 2025, it was under where United Healthcare was. So we ended up moving back to Blue Cross of Kansas. So you guys are fully insured with them. So again, that was for multiple reasons, but I'll also get into in the next few slides of why you guys ran and where that 20% came in from United Healthcare. You also, on your dental, you guys were with Delta Dental, and your spend was at $141,000. When we moved in 2024 to Delta Dental, the exact same plan, you guys saved $78,000 right off the bat. And in 2025, it went up to $83,000. I'm sorry, the savings over there, you saved $410,000 the first year just on medical, $62,000 on that dental. And then year 2, you're still at $306,000 and $58,000 on that dental. So one of the things that Emily mentioned earlier was Delta Dental. We have a lot of business with them. And one of the things that we really try to do strategically behind the scenes is how do we get better savings for our clients and pass those on? So one of the things that we've done, and we're the only broker in the state to be able to do this with Delta Dental, is we pool all of our Buchanan clients, because we have a bulk of Buchanan clients in Delta Dental of Kansas. So instead of you guys running on your own, you run in our pool, and it's 5% under where the market is. Instead of your claims running off how they would with medical, if you get a 10% increase with dental every year, instead you're getting a minimal increase, if any at all, because we pool all those rates. So we try to work a little smarter with our carriers as well, not just the medical. We do that with the ancillary carriers as well. We have deals where if they need short-term disability, say we look at the data and you guys have a big influx and you hire several people are in their childbearing years. Well, we look at the short-term disability policy and we say, okay, if we could pool those behind the scenes, and we know you have 10 people that are going to hit short-term disability, now you're not going to get hit with an increase the next year, because we're looking at that and analyzing that data. So we're not just looking at the medical claims, we're looking at it from the demographic. How are you guys hiring? How are you retaining? What are the goals? Because those can change year over year. You may have 10 people that have babies one year, and you may not have any for the next 5 years. So that's something we're constantly monitoring, not just year over year. It's kind of a more long-term strategic plan on all the benefits. So, yeah. So this next one is going to be the 12-month loss ratio. So when you look at how you guys are running and what you're paying in premiums, your claims are higher than what you're paying in premiums. So if you look at January 2024, you were at 163% loss ratio. And if you kind of go down the line, you're going to see that you guys ran really high. So that just means you had a lot of claims. So you can see the medical claims and the pharmacy claims are broken out. So you had a couple of months where you had higher medical claims, and then a few of those, it was because of the pharmacy claims were running high. So we look at that and we know that you guys ran at 126% loss ratio. With United Healthcare, your renewal instead of 20% with 126% loss ratio should have been more like 35 to 40. But we did negotiate that down as well as far as we could because of those marketing efforts, and 20 was the lowest. But with Blue Cross, again, we were able to get it, I think around an 8% over renewal. So that's why we moved. And again, it wasn't just the decision to move carriers after a year. There were a lot of thought processes put into it of how the employees were feeling as well and what their perception was of the insurance.
So were a lot of the other Blue Cross Blue Shield clients under that threshold by quite a bit that offset ours, and we just kind of got caught in the average in a good way?
Blue Cross underwrites a little bit differently than some of the other carriers. If they told us how they underwrite, we, probably wouldn't still be in business.
Proprietary.
So, but they look at it a little bit differently. They probably wanted your business back, so that, we do use
We help
that.
their numbers.
Yeah, you help their numbers. So where we really work well with is once you're back in with Blue Cross, they are easy to negotiate with because of how they underwrite versus how United Healthcare underwrites. So they all underwrite just a little bit differently. But I would say, yes, a majority of it, they wanted your business back. But the other fact of that is when we look at claims, some of those claims were only one-time hits where United Healthcare wants their money because you aren't paying that higher premium. And Blue Cross doesn't care because they're not going to have to pay for that claim the next year. So it's off the claims data. So, and you'll kind of see that on how it's running for this year with Blue Cross. So right now, if you look at your 12-month loss ratio for 2025 through May, the last 2 months have not been running great, but there's a reason why. Those are higher, but those first 3 months, you guys were running really well. So the reason for April and May is you guys had a high claim. It's $1 million claim. However, only $250,000 of that is going to hit your claims because of the way Blue Cross, they put a pooling point in. So they say, if you have $1 million claim, we're going to stop it at $250,000. So that's for each individual. So, and typically not every individual is going to have $1 million claim. It was a pregnancy complication. So those do cost a lot, but Blue Cross also looks at that when they cap it at $250,000. When we go up for renewal, we have a few negotiating tools, one going to market, but some other things that we do behind the scenes. And we're going to say, this is a one and done. Everything's good. All is well again. And so we're going to start to see these claims tailor off. So you had 2 high months, only about 70, 80,000 has hit. So we know we're going to have some other high claim months, but we know it's one. It's not consistent. So we'll get into that in the next couple of slides. And I can get into more. So the next slide after this, kind of on page.
So it's 2024 self-funded?
Yeah, 2024 self-funded versus fully insured. So this is the perfect example of what we kind of look at to say, do we want to go self-insured? Should we stay fully insured? So if you look at your enrollments, how much your medical claims, and these are estimates. We obviously don't know for sure because self-funded just typically runs differently than fully insured. But if you would have moved to self-insured in 2024, you guys would have paid more in claims than what you are with fully insured. So right now the risk is on the insurance carrier, which is where you want it to be because you guys have high claims. So in 2024. So we will continue to monitor that as well. And so again, like you said, we like to have 3 years of good data before we really start marketing to self-insured too, because that's what you want. That's what carriers want as well, to be honest. So
And a big portion of this is drug spend, right? Because when you're self-insured, you get a rebate, you get the rebates back, which is huge. However, it did not exceed what we would have gotten back for fully insured. So this is an example that we do every year for you guys, just to show, hey, this is what it would be self-insured, fully insured, and we will evaluate that every year because you guys definitely are in a segment where you could be self-insured. It's just, when does it make sense? Does it make sense? So.
yeah. Okay, so the next one's going to be your claims incurred and claims paid. So your insurance right now covers about 75% of the healthcare cost. Members pay 25%. But the one thing that you have to remember when you're looking at this data is you guys have 3 plan offerings. You have 2 plans that are your traditional copay plans. So if you go to the doctor, you pay a nice little $35 copay and then you're done. You also have a high deductible plan. So it's a first dollar benefit. So anytime you go to the doctor, you're going to pay $100, you're going to pay $150. It ranges. You have over half of your employees are on that high deductible plan. So this data is a little skewed because everybody's paying into that deductible, over half of your employees. So that's 25% of what the county or what the insurance is covering versus what the members are paying. It is accurate as far as, you know, where it's the members are paying that 25%. But since you have everybody on a high deductible, it's going to be higher than what if we look at the overall book of business from Blue Cross, because typically we don't have more than half of employees on high deductible plans. You guys are a little bit of an anomaly. Usually it's about 10 people. You guys have over 50 people on it. So it's usually a lot lower. So where those copays, then the insurance would pick up a lot more of that. Does that make sense?
And that's something you can't change. So let's
Yeah.
say that you want to increase and enhance your plan designs. You guys have the richest high deductible health plan option available under IRS regulations. So you could not go in and say, hey, if someone goes in for an MRI, I want them to have a $100 copay. You can't do that on HSA plans. So if someone that were to go and get an MRI on the high deductible health plan versus someone on plan option 1 or 2 with copays are going to pay vastly different things, just because the high deductible health plan has no first dollar benefits. But the benefit to that obviously is lower premiums. You can put money away pre-tax and also get funding from the county. So, and a lot of that's employee education, right? So that's where we really open enrollment, hone over and over and over. This is not like your traditional health plan option. But these were not new. These were offered through the state as well. So these weren't, you know, shocking to employees. They didn't just pick the lower price tag. These were almost mirrored identical from the state plan. So,
And also, you guys contribute to the HSA, which helps drive people to that high deductible plan. Now, from a premium standpoint, it's your lowest premium that you guys are paying on those plans. So even though the members are paying a little more, the county is paying a little less on that premium because they're typically lower premiums as well. So,
and they're a great benefit. I mean,
yeah, they're a great benefit.
if you have a good health year, you walk away with money in your health savings account. And that's what a lot of people do, but you can't look into a crystal ball. So those employees that do have to incur.
And a lot of people from who we've talked to during open enrollment, they've been on it for years. So they have a pretty good nest egg in their HSA, so they don't want to leave. But then we have other people that come and they chose it and then they have circumstances change and they're switching over to those PPO plans. So we really try to make sure people understand what benefits they're getting as well. All right, so the next page is going to be your high cost claims. So as we kind of talked about, you guys have that $1 million claim. You can see the first claim and that third claim, they tie in together because even though it says they're both employee for dependents, they don't typically, you know, they're not off the plan right away because you have 30 days to add a newborn. So those are still tied together because we know that is going to be $1 million claim. But again, only $250,000 of that is going to hit your plan. And the rest of those, you have a cardiomyopathy, but it's still really manageable. So that one is not a big concern yet. So 67,000 has been paid out, but that one also, we can monitor that and say, where are these claims going? Is this an ongoing issue? That's the stuff that we look at for your negotiations. So we know the first two are going to fall off, and then the rest of those is pharmacy. So when we start to see pharmacy creep up and up, and we're seeing it more and more in all these plans, medical trends are starting to do this, pharmacy is starting to do this. So that's why you're hearing a lot of people moving to self-funded, because you get rebates and you can exclude drugs and you can do all these things where you could really see the benefits of those savings. But again, you have to make sure everything lines up to make sure you're not getting upside down. So, but when you look at your pharmacy claims, the majority of it is in, or when you look at your high claims, the majority of it is in these pharmacy and not pregnancy. So other than that, you guys are running really well this year. Besides, even though it shows a higher loss ratio, we know it's really because of one claim. So,
Which helps us do our job at Ringgold.
yeah. Any
Especially with the
questions so
same
far? I feel like we've gone over a lot. So any questions on anything? Yep. Okay. All right. So this next one is the point of care. So I really like this page because it shows where everybody is going for service. And this is important for a couple of reasons. That Credo Health Group on there is really one of your higher claimants. The Stormont Mail, we can probably tie that back to the high claimant. But the Credo Health is the pharmacy. So that's their specialty pharmacy. So it always hits this when we're looking at the data. But the other reason why this page matters is because, as we mentioned, our footprint is growing with counties, school districts. So we have Abilene, Salina. So we're looking at concentric networks. How do we get you guys the best care and the best plan designs and make it where Abilene School District benefits and Salina benefits? So we look at it from, can we create where if we say, if you go to Salina, it's going to be cheaper, the hospital, or Abilene, it's cheaper for everybody in the community versus just the county employees. So we kind of partner with our other clients and go to Blue Cross and say, we can create this concentric network. So this is why this page is important to us, and knowing the local markets. So again, we're not just looking at this year over year, how can we do this? We do all of that, but we're also looking at it long term. What can we create that's going to have the best benefits and drive those premiums down? So when you start creating narrow networks, which is really hard in this area, just because it's popular in Kansas City, Topeka, but it's going to get out here too. So we create a narrow network where you give people options. All right, pharmacy utilization. Again, this goes back to what we've already been on. When we want to look at self-funded, does it make sense? Where are your pharmacy claims? You can see you guys have spent about $176,000 this year, with the plan paying $143,000. You have over 1,300 prescriptions that are getting filled as generics. That is really good. We always want people to fill generics. It saves the employees money. It saves the plan money. So you have 16 specialty, and that is what is driving the cost in those high claims, or those 16 specialty. So you guys are also utilizing several things behind the scenes that Blue Cross has put in place. So Flex Access is one of those. Is on specialty drugs. It's about, it's on another page. I want to say around 400 drugs that they've deemed as, we can get these, we can put you on a patient assistance program, and the member gets the drug at no cost, and now it doesn't hit your plan. However, when it comes to fully insured, because of HIPAA, Blue Cross is the only people that can reach out to that member. We can't help reach out. We can't hire a TPA to reach out to them because of HIPAA compliance, and they're not unidentified in the report. When we look at self-funding and how we're able to do that with self-funding clients, it's because they're de-identified. So we know exactly who that member is. So we can go to a TPA and say, we want you to call so-and-so because we know they're a high claimant and we know we can get this done. So with Blue Cross fully insured, we can't do that. So that Flex Access, it's part of our marketing campaigns to help people start utilizing that. You do have, I don't think there's anybody utilizing it right now or one.
They do direct outreach.
Yeah, they do direct outreach. So we're constantly working with the Blue Cross reps here saying, we want to push this out more. We want to push it out. So we're not just letting Blue Cross do it either. Charles, he's actually in Salina. He's the Blue Cross rep for around here. We talk to him all the time. That's how we know this claim is coming down the pipeline too, even though it's not in the data yet.
So I'm very convinced of your expertise. This is very thorough. But I guess the part to kind of cut a little bit to the chase
Okay.
is you're saving us a lot of money on the
Uh-huh.
healthcare part. So then what is your portion as far as the budget item for your services?
Great
And
question.
so that's kind of the part on the budget that's going to be important. And I don't want to jump ahead, maybe
So
you're,
all of our
There's
fees
another
are built
question.
into your rates, your Blue Cross rates. So you don't pay us, Katie, anything extra. We're very transparent with that. If we build your rates into Blue Cross and with United Healthcare, and typically we do that on fully insured. And a lot of people do. If we need to negotiate those rates down, we do use that as a negotiation tool with Blue Cross to say, hey, we're going to lower our fees. Will you give us a little? Or United Healthcare, it doesn't matter the carrier. So right now, you don't have any extra fees that you pay to be paid directly. Everything is built in to those premiums, and that's how we get paid.
And to answer your question more
Yeah.
directly, it's 5% of the medical premiums, but that's Blue Cross's standard. So when we moved you guys to there, that's what they plug in. That's not to say we are completely open to negotiation. I think when we first came out here with United Healthcare, we tried to push a per employee per month. It ultimately ended up being in the rate, same with Blue Cross. So we absolutely can do a per employee per month where you take the fees out of the rates and you just pay BKD. We have a lot of clients on direct consulting contracts, and we can work with you guys on that.
What would that look like if we did do that? What would the amount be?
Great question. So we actually did that a little math just in case you asked on the way here, because we certainly don't want to lose your business to if someone did come in and undercut us, because we can tell you all that we do, but it's really hard to explain until you see the negotiations we put in. For a group your size, between 30 to 35 PEPM for only members on the plan. But again, we would hate to lose it to someone that did it to 25, right? So we feel like what we do is the value is what we bring, because we don't charge additional fees on top of that.
Yeah, we see a lot of people that come in and undercut fees, and then they'll say, oh yeah, we offer everything, but when it comes to the 1095 reporting, we actually need to charge for that. And it's expensive to report for that. And a lot of payroll companies do it. Or they'll say, yep, we offer all these same services, but we don't build Employee Navigator in-house, we outsource it. Or we got one the other day, do you guys actually do HR consulting in-house? And we're like, yes. And they're like, oh, well, our broker now outsources that. And so there's all these little fees that can add up, even though they say, oh yeah, we'll do it for these lower fees. And that's fine. I mean, we get it. We're in here too, trying to gain business with other people, but we want to make sure all of our services are exactly what they say they are, and that we're completely transparent with what we do.
Yeah, these are all inclusive. We don't nickel and dime you after the fact. This is the only thing we would charge from you guys going forward.
Well, and some people, when they look at a PEPM, they'll change it every month. And we're always like, if you stay consistent, we're not going to go in every month and be like, oh, you lost one employee or you gained 2 employees. We're going to charge more now because of the PEPM. That's just too much.
so this would be more for Marcia, but the value that we get from this as far as the time, but also the expertise, do you consider it good value and worthwhile? Because otherwise you're kind of flying solo without.
Yes, there's a lot to help
Support.
that you don't realize behind the scenes. And with their expertise and guidance and being able to contact them, it's a huge benefit to me. And just as far as the ACA reporting at the end of the year, that would take almost another person to keep up with that reporting. So that it's available to us through them, that is huge. Because that's a report, it's a kind of reporting nightmare, and it's always changing, it seems like.
Government.
And
Yeah.
with this big, beautiful bill that's passing in the Senate, there's going to be more changes to those high deductible plans and HSAs and but where I was going with that is the compliance, that changes all the time. We do a lot of RxDC reporting. We make sure we're doing all that. And the carriers put that on you guys to do.
Because you're the beneficiary of the plan.
Because yeah, but we help handle it because we know how to run the reports. If you're self-funded, there's the Corey fees, all kinds of different compliance things that we really try to help manage because it's a lot for groups to manage from the compliance side.
Are you guys saying that our claims, at least for the last few years, have been, higher than normal, correct?
So you're.
So if we were self-insured during that period, we have high claims. Am I understanding this correctly? Okay.
We'd be
Yeah.
higher.
Yeah.
So your premium that the easiest way to put it is the premium you paid to the carrier was less than the claims that you were incurring.
Right.
Significantly.
Yep.
But through our negotiations, and that's, again, we talk about fees and what we pay for, but where we really gain traction and keep our clients is how we work through renewals. So even though you guys had those ugly claim years, we were able to negotiate it down to a manageable rate for you guys budgetary wise. Yeah, that's what we do for other clients and counties too.
Even the Blue Cross renewal came in about 6% higher than what we ended up negotiating the rates. So they came in with one rate. We were like, no, that's not good enough. And so they were 6% lower than what they originally even came out with. So we don't even like first pass, from when we market it. So, and knowing the strategy too, it wasn't just, we need to get Blue Cross lower. It was working with, Marcia and Janelle and saying, we know members want to move back. So we got to make sure we're doing what's best for the members too. So that's why we push a lot harder with Blue Cross, because we knew there was a reason why we wanted to go back to them.
The feedback I have, and probably Marcia, you can address this more, but I mean, the employees are happy because they can find a physician or their medical needs within a net. They don't have to go through a network and go through extra steps. I mean, Blue Cross Blue Shield is a good fit.
Yeah, so it's been quiet this year for me, and now that we're back on Blue Cross, you don't typically hear from people when they're happy. And so I guess that's a good sign, because when we went to United, or we had to, basically, we heard a lot of complaints about that. And so I feel like if they're not coming to Janelle or I with an issue, then they're happy. We're not hearing anything
They
back.
call us more for like, hey, this was billed incorrectly. So those are most of the phone calls we're getting are, I lost my ID card. So they may not always call them when it pertains to claims, because they may not want them to know. Because we're HIPAA trained too, so we can't call them and be like, hey, so-and-so called today, and guess what?
Yeah, move from.
Plus, I don't-
Well,
We have a state plan.
state plan.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons we looked at going with a broker is because we were paying more in premiums than we were in claims, and the costs continued to rise again and again and again.
We have no control with the state.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So HR was dealing with a lot of those questions that come up. That's not the role. And having a broker and having Bukaty answer those questions, that was huge.
Is there a goal to get to be self-insured? I'm hearing that a lot.
Yes, we want to make sure that you guys have options. It's our job to bring you guys all the options. We may throw a lot at you and you're like, no, we don't want to do that. Because at the end of the day, we're here to tell you everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, because there's new things coming out all the time from carriers or captives or self-funded, and it works for some people and it doesn't work. So, but that's why we monitor it and say, okay, you guys are running really bad. We can show you self-insured, but we would not advise it because you might be upside down in your claims because of the data that we have. However, we'll show you everything because, again, we want to make sure that we retain your business. And if we don't show you everything, then we're not doing our due diligence either as your broker. So that's what we should be doing, is showing you every option out there.
Every year.
So, every year.
I know the company I work for, we're self-insured, and we've taken some pretty massive, heart transplants, and we've taken some massive hits.
Mhm.
And never went insolvent in that account. Because the premiums ended up being a pool of money that everyone shares, right? So there's definitely gotten points where it's been low before, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
We've had
Yeah,
two
self-insured.
big ones in a year.
Yeah, when you look at self-insured, fully insured, you're at the mercy of the carrier.
Well, there's a threshold too, correct?
Yeah,
it's
and it
high, and
depends on
eventually
how
they're gonna cover
much
most of
stop
it.
loss you
Yeah.
put in there. And, if you put 50,000 aggregate on every person, then that protects you and then stop loss takes over.
Right.
Where we really shine with stop loss in looking outside of Blue Cross of Kansas is you can plug and play. So like, for example, you guys have $1 million claimant, hey, we know 250,000, say you had a 50,000 on that person, but we know that spec hit, it's gonna hit. So you guys are gonna be paying up to that 50,000, but now stop loss is gonna be a high renewal. Well, it's a one and done. We unplug that one, go to market for your stop loss, and the members don't see any disruptions. And then we're able to get.
That's exactly how we've been running it.
Yeah.
And so,
Does work.
Yeah.
But your claims can't be high either.
well, here's the other.
You gotta be reasonable.
Yeah.
on claims.
And you gotta put a good spec on it. You can't just throw 50,000 out or 75 or 100. There's a lot more than what we're showing you.
I won't say we're like 100, but yeah, I know what you mean.
But the
Yeah.
other really key piece to that, other county that we came in that Jordan worked for, they were previously self-insured, but the reserves weren't there. So they didn't
Yeah.
have a department to really monitor that and make sure the county was funding accurately and appropriately. So they were upside down in that piece. Even though they ran well one year, they weren't funding it. So that's another really key piece that you have to be prepared to do,
Yeah.
is to fund.
And usually when you go self-insured, it's more expensive the first 2 to 3 years because you're funding to the max. And so you have to be, it's a risk. It costs more money to
Long-term
go
plans.
self-insured, but it's
I've always been told the longer term
a longer
plan
term.
to save money. It's not gonna save money.
But some counties, we have another county in southeast Kansas and they're self-insured and we're seeing their pharmacy claims. I mean, they're extremely high compared to the medical and we're still going to market every year and it's Blue Cross, so it works a little bit different and 80% of the rebates come back, but we still can't get stop loss quotes lower than what Blue Cross of Kansas has. So it can, it just depends
Yeah.
on how you guys run and what we have set up. If we looked at it, for next year, you guys, it would be more expensive than what you're doing today because you're gonna fund it a lot higher. So it's not saying we can't do it, but at the end of the day, and it depends on what you guys are you doing budget cuts, what other increases are you having across the board? We don't need to know the details, but how your bottom line runs depends on what we kind of show you.
Well, to answer that, we are doing budget cuts. So I mean, cost savings is the theme this year.
Yeah,
Yeah, and if you were to go self-funded, we would suggest to the max. We certainly don't have to.
Yeah.
But as your consultants, that's what we would suggest. Just
Yeah.
put you guys in the best
so
position.
we can show all those quotes.
I don't know if there's an effort to go self-fund. Maybe there is, but
I would say with how you're running right now, it'd be a little bit more of a risk. I would say keep the claims with the carrier,
Let them
make
take the
them
hit.
take the hit.
And then let us negotiate on your behalf to get it down and
Yeah,
recoup it.
Well, I think what we're doing works. Excuse me, I think it works well. And, the fact, for example, that you mentioned the local school district also is using your services. I think we're fortunate that we're a size of county that we are and can still plug into your expertise. And I'm not sure how that works for all counties, but I think it works well for us.
yeah.
Commissioner.
We're very passionate about what we do. I don't know if you can be passionate about this, but
Yes, counties are very good remark. We love working with your team. We love the employees. We really, really enjoy our county service and our clients. With that, we left a nice little takeaway in the folder with a letter from one of our clients who we love, and she's always suggested.
and I know that you guys talk to Crystal too, so.
And it speaks, to what we do service wise, and we like working with who we work with, and it's, they've been a real joy to work with us, you guys. So we wanted to leave that piece.
so at the end of the day, so for the voters, we spend around $30 to $35 for your services per participating member.
Right now you're at 5%, but if we need to negotiate that down, and you can't negotiate rates mid-year, we did call Blue Cross just to double check. I mean, we always like to do our due diligence and they're like, no.
Probably not, huh?
Because they would open the wild west if they did that, for.
It'd probably be worse, honestly. for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, so, I mean, we did it just to double check, but we go in with, they just put their standard in there, so with full insurance. So
I think that's
we're
just
always
knowing.
willing to negotiate that.
I think us just knowing would be beneficial
Yeah.
for the commission to understand the whole cost and what is attributed to it. I think just telling us would be,
Yeah,
So
and we
Crystal,
send, one of the things that we do is we send
Fee disclosure.
a fee disclosure every,
Within 15 days after you renew. So we do send that out. We have to legally due to the Consolidated Appropriation Act. So we have to disclose that we get paid on medical, dental, and vision. We have to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sounds like you're doing that already. I'm new.
Yeah,
No worries. Any other questions for us?
yeah, there's a lot more if you want to look.
Can we take it back?
Somebody can go read material.
Maybe, yeah, if you want to catch up on. some
No, we
light
could.
reading.
We got a few other things to get
Yeah, no,
to, so
you're
we're not
right.
trying to rush
We
along
appreciate
here.
your guys' time and transparency. We are transparent too. So any questions you ever have or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. So.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for
your time.
your
Thank you guys for
presentation,
making the
and
trip.
presentation materials are very concise and great overview.
We appreciate it.
Very professional. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank
All
you.
right, have a good
Bye.
Fourth.
Yes, you
Yeah.
too.
Thanks, guys.
Happy 4th of July.
Same to you.
Okay. Now we're gonna do.
Did you have something you wanted to speak to the county commission about?
You want to patch this?
Still after the meeting.
Okay.
Question.
Okay.
Jerry, do you want to,
Connie, will you sign in on there? Thank you.
Jerry, would you mind coming up? I know we were going to talk about mental health a little bit. And Jill could probably correct me here, but really what we'd like to know is the relationship you're working with Central Kansas Mental Health and what you're doing with that in the jail.
Okay. Start off with, there was a question as to whether we do screening of any inmates when they come in.
That's one, yep.
We have in our booking procedure, there's a questionnaire for brief jail medical mental health. It's got yes or no questions that we ask and answer, and it gives them points. And it triggers that if there's so many points, it tells us this person needs to be additionally screened. If so, we have them assessed by Central Kansas Mental Health via Zoom. So they are screened when they come in. And after they're screened and they're booked into jail, our medical staff or
Advanced correctional.
advanced correctional health care, they have a 14-day assessment that they do for general overall health. And part of that assessment is a suicide assessment to see if anybody's at risk for suicide. And then we do provide follow-up counseling services with Central Kansas Mental Health. I had the jail send me, we've had 2 in the last month that we've got bills for. One of them had 4 therapy visits since May 14th of this year. Another one had, I think, 15 or 16. He had 18 therapy visits since October of last year with Central Kansas Mental Health. They charge us about $70 per visit. So the first one was about $280 worth of contract services, and the other one was a little over $1,100. So Central Kansas Mental Health does do follow-up therapy with those inmates that they deem necessary.
And in that process, are they able, if they need it, be prescribed any sort of psychoactive medication?
The Central Kansas Mental Health can prescribe medication.
So we do, so is it fair to say we might have some medicated inmates? That is a possibility, I guess is my question. Not that we have them now, but.
Yeah.
Jill, do you want to kind of talk to us? I guess we had a conversation with Judge Googler and commissioners for all of us, but he essentially is asking us for our support in raising mental health, both awareness and then a process within the jail. Really, why we're bringing Jerry in today is I think we're kind of doing what he requested that was asking us to do yesterday. And I think the idea is he wants to get the community a little more involved with health assessment and medication. And I think we could do a lot, probably do more, but to do that, we're going to talk about it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Janelle, you can explain this a little bit.
Yeah, I think that you hit all the points very well. I mean, we did talk about the CARES Coalition, Central Kansas Mental Health, Community Foundation, but expanding that into the churches, like you had mentioned, and mental health is a huge issue that we're seeing. But I think the concern was what happens when they get booked into jail, and then if they are released, making sure that they don't get any further charges against them. So letting them know that there are resources out there on the mental health side. And Jerry is working on that. And Jerry's been working with Central Kansas Mental Health for just darn near a year.
Since October of last year, they sent me a memorandum of understanding so that we could kind of enter into an agreement with them. There's been some negotiation back and forth as far as that agreement. We have our own record privacy policies in the jail. And if we sign the agreement that they sent to us, it would make us a business associate of Central Kansas Mental Health, which means we would have to follow HIPAA. And that's the disagreement. Right now, the agreement is back at Central Kansas Mental Health for review. It's been there for a while. They're aware of it. And as soon as we get that agreement signed, then I think there'll be even more services available for us. Also, there was a stepping up program that we were looking into a few years ago. Hopefully, it works with mental health, trying to get some mental health in your facility. You'd have a facilitator on staff who would work with the inmates while they're in jail. But the whole goal is to continue services once they get out of jail. So that facilitator would work with them as far as setting up external appointments with mental health and that type of thing too.
And would that occur if they're on like a parole or probationary period, then that's when, so basically my question is after that,
After
we were, I don't want to say release, but I think that's the proper.
After they're off of paper.
Correct.
Yeah, the goal would be to work with them as long as they needed the mental health service.
On the paper.
So, and
that could
I
be,
see that being a need. So,
right, ordered, could that be ordered?
no, if they're
think
off
so.
paper, it can't be.
Can't be
ordered.
ordered.
This would be just something that the facilitator works with them and kind of develops that relationship
Mhm.
and hopefully continues that relationship after they're through with us entirely.
Would you touch a little bit on the difference between the privacy that the jail follows or sheriff's office follows versus HIPAA? What the difference is?
HIPAA is quite restrictive, and we have our own policies that we follow. HIPAA is kind of another policy we would have to follow, and I think ours, for our needs, we're not a medical provider. I think for our needs, our records policy covers the privacy that we need to cover. We don't need to be following under HIPAA and follow those guys.
And you're regulated by CJIS, correct? With that information, or is it a different regulation?
Right now, we're following, but there's no really regulations on it.
Yep.
Right now, we're with the National Institute of Jail Operations.
Okay.
We kind of follow their guidelines.
Okay.
Through our insurance company, we also have access to other resources.
Okay.
So,
I'm just going to reverberate. So the real purpose of this is to deter reoccurring offenders who do get out on probation or get out on bond, and to deter them from committing another crime because they have a mental illness where they don't have the brain power to say stop. In other words, they need to be medicated. They need to be helped, in other words.
And finding the resources that would benefit them.
Exactly.
No.
I know outside of the jail, our deputies have responded to one mental health person 28 times in the last month. So we're working with Central Kansas Mental Health and Adult Protective Services, trying to get some resolution for them. So we're kind of all in the loop there as well. So we're doing what we think we can do, but we're kind of limited as far as we're a law enforcement agency. We're not a mental health professional. So all we can do is gather the information and contact the professionals that need to be contacted. So.
Do you think it would be useful to have an on-staff facilitator if one day we could try to get something like that worked up with Central Kansas Mental Health?
Yes, I think it would be huge. Central Kansas Mental Health does also have a mobile crime team, not crime team, a mental health team. It's called a crisis intervention team. That if we run into somebody out on the street or something that we think needs mental health services, we can contact that team and connect them directly through that as well. It's working well in Salina and Saline County. We're still in the process of getting that all organized over here. I want to add it into our policy before I have our officers getting involved with anything like that. But basically, out on the street, that's what we're shooting for. But in the jail now, if there's something that just pops up today with an inmate, we don't hesitate to call mental health and ask them what their opinion is on it or get any guidance from them.
So I think it's safe to say that we are screening them. We're assessing them upon entry or admittance into the jail.
Yes.
So we know we have a pretty good idea once they're here if they have some issues. But it's after the fact. That's the problem. When they go out on probation, when they go out on bond.
Yeah.
that's when the problems come back. And then we're just.
That's where your recidivism
Revolving
happens,
door.
because recidivism happens because they're out and there's the care that they were getting and the medications they were getting. They don't follow up on that care and they don't continue to take their medication. So I think a facilitator would be huge in that.
And it's a rough cycle because they can even have some coaching and encouragement. Don't hang out with the people you hung out before. Find a job, find good housing. Well, for them to find housing, and some bridges have been burned already with family and friends. And then if they go back to the people they hung out with when they got in trouble. So the good advice with reality, there's a separation there on how you accomplish that. And then, like you mentioned, the medications at Central Kansas, they have been doing that with Saline County, and it's a larger jail population. So they try to visit with them in advance. And they did see a change in some of the recidivism. You wouldn't think about it, but I mean, some are back every 30 days over there. They've got a larger population. So if they expanded that where it was 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, they still might be back, but just the fact that they've interrupted that cycle. And then some manage to get out of it for various reasons. And it's through some of the other support groups and so on. But I mean, it's a tough cycle to get out of. And I saw where even the Highway Patrol now has a new protocol that they're working on. So when they make a traffic stop, that they actually try to recognize certain characteristics that may not be as obvious, but they're there, on whether it's on the mental health issue, on how they deal with it and how they approach the people. Yeah, I think about when you guys make a stop, or anyone in law enforcement, I mean, or a call at the house, you really don't know what you're getting into.
Correct. Just had a deputy lose his life in Phillips County responding to a simple fireworks call. He was shot.
Yeah.
And so I would kind of liken this, then comes up the idea of success. Well, to me, this is very similar to drug court in terms of the after the fact rehabilitation and getting them back into society. I know it's not the same, it's two different prescriptions, I get it, but the idea is to walk these folks through a path to rehabilitation and getting them back into a sense of normalcy and become a member of society. I think that's the goal of both of these, if we had a new program.
And it benefits not only the inmate and when they get out, but it also benefits the entire community because of the recidivism rate. They're not coming back, they're becoming a productive member of society. And, a lot of the folks in recovery court that went through the process, I've talked to their family members and they're like, I've got my family member back. I mean, it's kind of like a switch flipped.
Yeah.
And they get it now and they're loving life. So
I think the mental health court would be a long-term goal. We need to do a lot of
Yeah, I'm getting a little ahead of
legwork.
myself there, but
Yeah.
And Central Kansas and other mental health groups are doing everything they can to get the word out, the awareness out. But it's surprising there's still some out there that they don't know that you can utilize or find any help anywhere hardly. And they really work hard at getting the word out. And
yeah, and I know
I'm glad they reached out to you, and they have a good presence, I think, in Dixon County, but they realize they need to do more or want to do more.
they do. And I'd like to find out more about mental health works. I don't know how it works. I don't know if it applies just to those people that are incarcerated or if it's a general member of the public who's having a mental health crisis outside of testing. I don't know if they are part of that process or not. I don't know anything about it. So.
yeah, I don't think we do yet either. We got a case study out there, but it doesn't really go into that.
Yeah, and then it doesn't know how it functions.
Yeah, and it mainly goes in how to measure it,
Right.
which is obviously good. You got to measure it, but it doesn't really go into who's participating. I didn't read that.
I didn't either. I think our first steps is to set up a meeting with the sheriff and the judge and some other parties and walk through what's being done and what else we need to start focusing on and who we need to bring to the table for this. So there's a lot of groups out there, CARES Coalition in particular, that is working on these things too. So makes sense.
At the end of the day, some of these mentally ill folks that are in our community, all we're really doing right now is throwing them in jail. Some of them.
Some of them, but there are some, like I said, there's one that's gotten therapy like 16 times or 18 times.
Right, and we talked about that.
Yes.
And mental health, Central Kansas Mental Health establishes, how often they need therapy and what service they really need, so.
Well, then your jailers are having to deal with it too. So there's that aspect to it as well.
And it's getting worse.
Yeah, but from the stories you've told me, yes.
So what I'm hearing, the mental health is on the rise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So why? Is it the food we eat? Is it the insecticide we're using?
I don't
Positive.
know. I'm eating the same food as these individuals and it's not affecting me that. So I
Well,
don't know if it's physiological or what.
If you talk to Judge Googler, a lot of this stems from childhood trauma. I mean, they grew up in a broken home
Abuse.
that is abused.
I
And
can see that.
he gave me some stories that are, I'm not going to repeat them, horrific. Some of the abuse some of these folks go through, especially when they get into the drug world. They get caught up in that. But
I
you're right.
agree with that. And I'm strongly supporting mental health. But I don't want to exclude the damage, the collateral damage that we have out in our economy. The folks that get hurt and nobody does a thing for them.
Right.
They're the losers. In the end, they're the losers.
Mhm.
Those that have family members killed or items stolen or their families disrupted, it's dropped, it's going on. We go on with life. There's a lot of hurt out there.
Well, and just-
mental health response, it all kind of falls back on law enforcement. I'm not sure how we did that, but if somebody's calling and their kid's in crisis or their loved one's in crisis, they call us. When it's not really a law enforcement function,
it's
it's a
been
mental
that
health
way
function.
forever, hasn't it?
And
And that's what I meant by that comment. We're just throwing them in jail. And I didn't mean that to offend anyone. It's just, we have no other
we're
prescription.
just a catch-all. because
And
nobody
you can't
else
be,
knows.
Exactly.
and you can't have a free pass because it's a mental health issue.
No, you got to deal with
So,
it.
I mean, that's the other part. I mean, it's,
I don't think anyone, yeah, and then, Judge brought that up, we got to get them through. I think his big thing was we let them out and then they go get a bunch of more charges. And then they're going to be in here for 6 months to a year working
And it
through court
accelerates.
proceedings. And then you're paying for that cost while we're doing it, instead of maybe trying to nip the problem in the head on the initial call or maybe even the initial.
And the families are still frustrated because they know their loved one needs help. And they've done everything they know to do, and it's just not working out. I mean, it's huge, the mental health problems we have right
and the educational system is working with that, so the teachers, deal with that.
It's a community-wide issue.
So,
It affects every single person, whether it's.
and, I mean, I don't want to speak out of school or turn, but some of those teachers by third grade or second grade, they can almost identify this one's probably going to fall through the cracks, or, how do we change? I mean, it's already, and so then when we start to recognize it is when they're, 12, 14 years later, and that cycle is already, and it's not, I'm not saying it's the teacher's fault. I mean, it's just, they can identify characteristics and.
Ron said it really well. It's the other people that get affected, and some of this is generational now. We are getting into a generational household that from one to the next has lived in poverty, in drug use, mental illness, and it's not going to stop. It's not like we're not doing anything that's stopping it, essentially. Throwing them in jail is not going to stop the problem. That's really where I'm at with it. It's that we've tried that for 20 years. Correct. It's not working. So if we can do anything to try to stop even one, break the cycle, to me, it's like drug court. That's why I likened it to that. It's a success.
You can't put a percentage on a success rate. I mean, if you've got 1 out of 1,000, that's 1 out of 1,000 you're not dealing with again.
Exactly.
The success rate, you really can't go up based on that.
And then, yeah, exactly. Then I look at that, if you get one, he's gonna start, you know, he or she might start a family, and then that new family is now out of that. They broke that generational curse. And poverty is somewhat of a curse. So I think it starts with your mental, though.
Yes.
You guys have any other questions? Really, the point was just to bring this up, and then we were gonna try to sit down with Judge Googler and have a little bit longer talk and just get an idea of what we could put together as a county to help this.
Yeah, I think we have to look for solutions. I mean, the problem is well identified.
Yeah.
And
I'm with Ron a little bit. I am worried we're not treating the symptom of the problem, but I don't think we have that ability here. We have to deal with the aftermath of it. I don't know if we are a big enough institution to solve societal problems.
The street officer has contact with somebody on the street and happen to commit a crime. They bring him to jail. There's a sense of relief to that officer because I handed that off to somebody else. Now it's their issue. Well, we just can't keep handing it.
I think Janelle will work with you and Judge, and we'll get a meeting going if you're all right with that.
We'll get there.
And we'll do some more talking. I appreciate you coming in and explaining what you guys do in the jail already.
It hurt to have other stakeholders at the table,
Absolutely.
you know, law enforcement, police, EMS.
Mhm.
I know the fire department in one jurisdiction is just totally, you know, they're totally lost on what to do with a certain mental health patient.
I think a lot of that CARES Coalition has got some good folks on there too. So I think a lot of the community foundation, not just the actual community, but the other community organizations. I think if we talk to them, they'd be more than willing to help, especially the churches. I know that there's a lot of help there that we could utilize. So let's go.
All right.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Why don't we talk about the potential parking lot?
Okay, there should be a copy of an estimate from Cow Valley Engineering in there. And this would be to add an additional lot here on the southeast corner where the old county attorney's building sat. And what he's estimating is $214,760. And that would have the ingress and the egress coming off of First Street where the original driveways were when there were two homes, or when there was a home sitting there. And yeah, there were two homes sitting there that we removed. So, and add 27 additional parking lots. So
parking spaces.
parking spaces, yes.
Commissioners, any thoughts?
We definitely need parking, that's for sure.
So we had spoke about this also, the other option, it could be gravel. Because we used to have gravel years ago.
We had gravel years ago and then
There's
they,
downsides of that.
there's a downside, they put some chip seal on it. And I spoke to Chad and Martin about that in particular. Their recommendation, because of the drainage, it would create more problems. You also have people parking. It's still a tight enough space with even adding 27 lots in, you're gonna have people parking willy-nilly over there, even though we'd hope that they would park decently. Their recommendation would just be to stick with the concrete on that, so.
Well, it always happens on those. Where someone parks 20 feet that direction and someone the other. And so eventually you have 2 or 3 cars taking up 2 spaces, but.
Right.
In jail, now I'm kind of from the country, as you know, but when I looked at the price of doing some of this stuff, we have quite a few qualified people here in the county. I mean, you look at some of this grading stuff, our guys can grade, I thought. And tree removal, don't we have equipment to push some trees over? I'm not trying to be funny
No.
but this is talking for the taxpayers. They're going to look at, some of these fees, and I'm thinking, good gosh, we don't really, I respect the fees they're charging, but I wouldn't want to pay them if they're out of my pocket.
We might be able to shave 10-15% off that price estimate just on.
I mean, I don't know, but I
some of the
mean,
lot preparation in-house.
Right.
I'm not trying to say do it wrong or anything like that, because I know it takes expertise to do it right.
And I know we refer to this as an employee parking lot, but the other thing is it's still a public parking lot. And when we have a jury trial, it's not just the jurors, you still have the public coming here to conduct business. And well, we still could utilize the parking lot across the street.
Correct.
That's exactly what I want to touch on. We have a parking lot across the street. It's, I mean, about 200 feet. I guess so. I'm gonna probably dig my heels in here and say, I don't know why we're not using that one. I know it is a walk. I understand that. That's very common for a lot of campuses or got a lot of employees. I'll just be frank, I don't know if spending 200 grand when we have one across the street is, in my opinion, the most advised way to do it. But I think the taxpayer would rather us utilize what we already have, but that's just my opinion on it.
And we've had an accident there, right? And we had somebody run over.
We've had the signs destroyed. So we bought a sign that we can place in the middle of the road and asking the public to slow down.
Accident in a parking lot.
Right, we did have.
So
an
it was in a
accident.
parking. We can't have any parking lots left for accidents.
We did have an accident in the parking lot,
All right.
yes.
This is my mistake.
And I don't want to, I guess I'm just being frank, we could require a certain amount of employees park over there. I know that's probably not the most attractive option, but it would utilize what we already have. Would save us 200 grand.
And we do have a safety light at First and Buckeye that they could use.
There is a crosswalk
There. And there is a crosswalk on Texas Street across, right, almost where the sidewalk lines up too, so.
I agree with that and stuff, but I'm still convinced that why are we always, they were using it before and we didn't have room even? When the parking lot across
It's always been there, yes.
in there, but.
It was gravel at one time.
Yeah, but when we pull in here to park and we can't because they're parking over there too. I mean, they're both kind of filled up is what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Am I wrong?
When we get the employees parked over there and jury.
Nothing in there today.
No.
I think if we made a policy to make the employees park over there, which I would be more than willing to park over there too. I truly think we'd be all right, but I don't know. Maybe we try that and see how it goes before we spend the money, but that would be my suggestion. But I'm fine with bringing it to agenda if you guys want to. That's your right.
Well, the other part, and I know they mentioned the gravel wouldn't be as good, and you have to still spray it and things like that, but we could probably clear and do some tree removal and some things that would prepare the lot and offset the cost. And then if we did put some gravel in there, it might take care of a dozen cars if it was just a little bit of an extension. But that might be something on the long range. And maybe we should, see how the budget works out before we. I mean, I wouldn't say just put this away and forget about it, but we could put it away and.
Which if we, if we got rid of site grading, I agree. I think our guys can do that. I would hope. And then the clearing and curb, we can remove gutters too, I imagine. We have a concrete saw. If you don't, we can rent them.
Right.
So, that's 32 grand theoretically. So, I mean, yeah, it would bring that cost down to about 180,000.
But they could still do some of that without us proceeding, just to clean the lot up a little bit.
Well, I don't think we want to leave it just bare ground because then that weed control and dust and all that kind of stuff too.
Presents its own problem.
We can wait through, we get through budget and see kind of where we're sitting at, and I'll talk to Martin and confirm everything that, because I would agree, there's things that they could do as well, so.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know I wouldn't like to walk too far to work. I get all that, but in the effort of trying to save some money. Go ahead and move on. Janelle, why don't you bring up the mechanic position?
So as you know, when we folded the highway department and environmental services into one department under one umbrella, Public Works, we eliminated, I shouldn't say we eliminated, we reduced the number of staff that was needed, knowing that at some point we are going to need an additional mechanic. Just because with the workload and the succession planning that we're looking on, I would like to utilize the staff and move the spray operator into a mechanic position is essentially what I'm asking to do under Public Works. So currently we have 2 mechanics on staff and one that is being groomed, if you will, to move into a management position, even though he's in charge of the mechanics and fleet and that, move him higher up into the position, free up him so he can start learning that role. We have the need for additional mechanic right now. So I'd like to start advertising for that position and see about getting it filled.
So that would be Billy, I assume.
Yeah.
So would he end up stepping off being a mechanic officially at some
He
point?
would step back.
Okay.
Because I think there's still some things that he would have to do, but yeah, step back. No.
Will he end up, just curious on his plan, will you end up making him like an assistant at some point? Or what's your plan there? I'm okay. Well, maybe.
So, yeah.
So we need a mechanic because,
So
what is that
we're not adding a staff person, we're just filling a staff person.
Is there any pay difference?
If you
I
take
would
what the
imagine there
director
is.
was and what the spray operator is, we're gonna be right in the middle of that. So, yes.
So we're not talking about an increase.
No.
And there's no miscommunication on mechanic. It's somebody that has to be a mechanic.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of people that say, I'm a mechanic, and you go get your
Yes.
vehicle and they forgot to put the oil in it.
They will be vetted without a doubt. Yes.
Tree shade mechanic, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the East Go.
Yeah.
I actually need to go to the office and it may be 30 minutes for me to
Okay.
get back, so. So I'll come in the middle of the meeting probably is what I'm about to.
Okay.
Okay.
See you then. I mean, I'm fine with it. I think we need one.
Yeah, I'm
I'm not increasing the budget.
Okay.
Do we need to put that on agenda officially, or can we?
As long as if I have your blessing, we'll start advertising it. So essentially we have a position that's gonna,
I'm totally fine with it.
I'll get that process started then. Thank you.
No problem. Well, that is study section.
Mhm.
So we'll have a quick recess here for 13 minutes and we'll resume at 11 a.m. I don't know if I was supposed to say recess. Is that the right way to say it?
A break.
Good break. Hi.
Hi, I'm Connie Covington.
Hi, Connie.
I'm going to be running for some commission.
Oh, okay. Good to
And-
meet you.
Nice to meet you and good to see all of you. I enjoyed your meeting. I thought you had some really good points.
Thanks.
And
You sure you want to run for Abilene Convention?
I was asked and prayed and I was okay. So anyway, I understand that you're interested in a tech school.
Yes,
I'm very interested in a tech school.
me as well.
I think Abilene could do a whole lot with a little bit more revenue. We could really bring our tourism in. And that's my goal, is to bring a tech school, get some tourism back in here because we're still like 50% down from what I understand. And also then I'd like to see a manufacturing company come in that would really manufacture stuff that we need as a community and the people that are working here. You
You
know,
got your industrial park going.
exactly.
And that's the whole intent.
Yes.
I hope.
Yes, and I want to expand that and to bring somebody in that will really manufacture and train the tech school. I want to be machinery that will actually make the tools and the tooling and all the stuff that they're going to
Sure.
buy and need. Excuse me.
So CDC is working with the Kansas Workforce One program,
Uh-huh.
or we are attempting to. Did you want to say something, Ron? I'm sorry.
I'm not trying to run off on you.
Okay. And what that's going to do is set up an apprenticeship program. So the
Okay,
Kansas Workforce Program incentivizes apprenticeships, and it goes beyond technical jobs. So it actually goes down to clerical jobs, really any kind of job, period. So you could, the whole idea is get with local employers, create apprenticeship positions, and then start to recruit for them people fresh out of high school that would be interested in those positions.
Yeah.
And in that effort, the high schooler would get right out of high school, be able to start their work,
Mhm,
get paid,
mhm.
and then go to school while they're working. So a true apprenticeship program.
That's exactly what I had in mind, as well as to kind of have to eliminate a lot of the four-year colleges that the kids are forced into going.
Right.
And now they have a huge bill. I'm from Southern California. I know a lot of people that went to the UCLA.
Sure.
I mean, got 8 years, came,
Well, debt.
Yes. and they're not using that. They're
Some of
not,
Yeah, some of those majors are,
I mean, and
Especially
one's
the
a
social
physicist
side,
and he
yeah.
can't find a job, that's pretty sad, but it's true.
and I'm a guy who majored in social science, so I'm a part of that.
Yeah.
And Rhonda from Kansas Workforce is coming at the end of this month
It's someone I think,
to the
yeah,
agreement. So you're more than welcome to come back to that meeting.
Okay, and who is that?
Her name is Deb Schreiber. She's going to be in charge of the region for Kansas Workforce.
Okay,
In our area, they're combining a couple regions. She'll be here on the 31st.
okay, all
During the
right.
study session.
reason I bring that up.
Thanks.
So the effort there is to, like I said, get with not just plumbers and HVAC and welding. And welding is our probably number one technical job we have in this whole county,
Mhm.
including probably your town. If you talk about Great Plains, if you consider Abilene Machine, you consider, Thunderstruck, welding is predominantly the skilled trade
Mhm.
around here. We do have quite a bit of manufacturing
Mhm.
for the size. We could use more, I agree.
Yeah, I think we've got to really bring the people in, or we are not going to have the employees.
So
fill those
that's-
positions.
That was our goal, was to get those apprenticeships really going. And right now we'll have to educate them out of Salina or Junction.
Mhm.
So they'll have to drive there. And my idea is if we get 50, 100 apprenticeships going, then we have an argument. And go,
Right.
hey, we have 100 kids here.
Mhm.
You can facilitate them.
Mhm.
Why don't you come consider being here and open up a satellite store or a campus?
Yeah, I think that's great.
So that's,
That's what I want. I want something here so that they can go to school here, stay here, and raise their families, work, and become part of the community.
so I think EDC is going to be the facilitator in that. The county obviously backs EDC.
Okay,
We give them money, so does the city. AGC is the Economic Development Corporation.
okay, thank you.
They are also the partnership for Abilene, the partnership for Harrington. So the chamber, old chamber is now inside of them as well. And that is, for lack of a better term, that is the county's economic development. We no longer have our own EDC person. So that is how, we don't have an ED person, I should say.
So that would bring that in.
That is, I'm hoping that institution will be the ones that will put that together and be the ones that go out and really argue for it. In other words, the county doesn't have the staff to do that. The Abilene doesn't have the staff. That's what EDC is for,
Right,
is to do that stuff.
right. And along with that, on your discussion with the jail and the problems, do we have a parole board here? Do we have that facility here?
Probation.
Yeah,
Yeah, right
probation.
across the hall here.
And so do they have a court mandate where they have to report every week or so when they come out? And they do that, then that kind of helps give them some kind of, I don't know, criteria where they have to report, kind of keep them on the straight
So
and
there's
narrow.
normal, just straight probation, and then we also administer a drug court
Mhm.
for drug-related crime. And what that is probably a more extensive probation. I'm not wording that, but they go through a program to
Okay,
get clean, to
That-
get in a house, to
yeah.
get a job. And it's basically, they don't have to do as much jail time, I don't think, Ron.
Yeah.
And so it keeps them out of jail so long as they follow the rules. And they're
right,
living in a house, they got a job, they're productive.
right.
They come in and see us, I think, twice a week. They have to UA twice a week. So we're trying to
So that
get
is
them back.
court mandated
Yes.
and they have to do
That's a
that.
special program we offer here at the county it's called drug court.
Yeah,
So that was what we actually kind of get into about mental health court,
yeah,
is that maybe a separate court for that certain type of offender that once again, Central Kansas would
If we're gonna.
notify us, hey, this person's mentally ill and and they would
Yeah.
maybe go through a different way of court.
The reason I'm asking is because you mentioned churches and I came and when we were in California, we had a program that I was in, helped with, and it was court mandated. They had to come to our services. They had to come and do the Bible study.
Yeah.
And we saw progress with that
And
as long as they were there. As long as it was court mandated, they were there. And when they got saved, then they remained. Those who didn't get saved, they had their choice between going to different ones or
Right.
going to a church. And they came to the church because they thought it'd be easier. But they did have to do paperwork. But what it does give them a chance, if they can come to know the Lord, he changes their entire life. And you don't see them repeating
Yeah.
the offenses near as much. So it does make a big, I also work with mental health in in a hospital. I was there and our unit was like 12 to 18. It was locked down. It was pretty significant. And I'm busy with the church and then I'm in this and I'm going, okay, now what is the percentage of success? They said maybe 2%.
Yeah, it's low.
Very low. And mental health doesn't always answer the question because they don't really get to the root of the problem. And I had several psychiatrists and psychologists that I became friends with, and they had several different techniques, but none of them got to the root of the problem. They were just masking the problems and giving them ways to deal with it,
Right.
which doesn't help when they're high or when they're drunk. That doesn't kick in. So
The
it's,
amount of self-medication, that's something the judge talked about a lot. A lot of this, you have childhood trauma and you're told your whole life not to feel it.
right,
And then you get older. Well, what do adults do when they don't want to feel something?
right.
They use a substance. That's what they do. Or healthy ones might go for a jog, might read the Bible, might
Right.
Here.
Well,
go
or
to
just,
work.
yeah, they change different courses.
So,
But the end is still the same. They're miserable in the end because
Right.
it doesn't satisfy. So whether they become a workaholic or beat their wives or beat their kids or drink or whatever,
Yeah.
none of that medicates, none of that satisfies.
no,
And they can't, controlling is really the issue, and that's why they're beating and doing all those sort of things. I don't want to
no,
take
you're
up your
fine. You're
time.
fine. You got 4 minutes.
So anyway, I was just curious about that. So I think that if we work with the churches and get them to come up with a program, there's several programs out there that we could have them attend, not only whatever we're doing here in I don't know whether they go
That one right there.
here or wherever
Yeah,
to get that help. If they could start getting into the churches, and then the churches really need to be more effective because,
that's the goal. Well, now me and Judge Googler's goal is to bring more awareness. And in my opinion, it takes the tribe
You're welcome.
it does.
to heal some people.
It does.
And,
Need anything else?
Not that
and, you know, I
know.
think the power of society is a big thing. If people think they have a place in it, they will work very hard to stay in it.
That's why the gangs are so popular. They want to belong.
Yeah.
And so if they belong to a church and they have family.
Nobody
there-
wants to be alone,
No,
no matter how
No.
much they think they do.
that's right. Everybody loves that friendship and fellowship, and that's where the church is.
Well, that's the plan. We're really early on. We're just really starting to talk about it.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'm going to talk to my pastor
I'd
and
love to
ask
see.
him if he would come up with a plan and see what he's got. And I can get back with you and
Yeah.
let you know, just as an option.
yeah,
If I know it's going to take time because he's just become our pastor this past year. And so he's still got a plate full that he's not used to having.
come on, Mark.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
I come to church probably not as much as I should.
Oh, you
But
go to, you
yes,
go
I
to
go to
Emmanuel?
Emmanuel. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. You go to first service?
No, I go to second, but like I said, we haven't been
Okay.
very studious in our Sunday
It's hard
studies.
sometimes. Yeah. You know, a busy schedule sometimes takes precedence.
No, but we do our daily prayers and daily readings. So it's not like.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm still pushing because I think this service is,
Yeah, I know. It is.
it really is because that's the
We
community.
usually make at least two.
Oh,
of them.
okay, well, that's better than some.
Well, to be fair, a lot of times if we're not there, we're up in Manhattan.
Oh.
It's not like we're not doing church.
That's,
Okay.
I understand. I'm not trying to be.
No, they want us to go up there really bad. And if we have the time on Sunday, we will, but they live in Manhattan.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't mind, but that, chunks out a lot of our day and then the kids are, and then, which I shouldn't care about that, but when you got 3 little kids. you
yeah,
do.
yeah, I do. I understand. I've been there.
Yeah.
But what's more important than that even is a relationship with Christ. And
Yeah.
if they get saved young, then that's going to save you.
So my kids attend Catholic school, so I think we're on the right path.
Okay. I'll leave that alone there.
We're on the right path with them.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's good. I'm glad that you're thinking in that direction. Yeah, I didn't mean to.
it's okay.
I don't want to step on toes here, but,
No, I am very private with my relationship. That's how I am. That's all.
well, I understand. I understand. A lot of people are. And it's important,
No.
whatever we have with Christ, he's the main goal. So, and I do appreciate your input for the school. I really am. If I get elected, that's what I'm going to really be pushing for. Because I think Abilene has great bones, it has great structure, and who doesn't like the old West, right?
Sure.
So It's got
Thank
very.
you for coming in.
Thank you. I appreciate so much. Nice to meet you.
you too, yes.
You have a great day. Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
How's it
See you
going?
later.
Nice to talk to you.
See you later, Deb.
All right, you take care.
All right.
Oh, good luck in your election.
Oh, well, thank you.
Call this meeting to order. Would all rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving on to the approval of the agenda. Today we have two items. We have the appointment of individuals to oversee the destruction of ballots, and we're going to have an executive session towards the end. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The consent agenda minutes are provided in your packet, Commissioners, for June 26th meeting. Payroll of $427,387.32. Utilities of $13,791.47. And abated tax of $487.50.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to Commissioner comments and reports. County Administrator General Dockendorf and I met with Judge Googler during this week and to discuss mental health court, among other mental health awareness programs that we are going to try to pursue in the community. Just an overall thing is that mental health, we realize, is on the rise and that we need to address it. And we are trying to come up with a plan to do that. And that is all I have to report. Ron, do you have anything?
Yeah, just real quickly, harvest time is going on, and as we drive down the country roads, we see our producers, ranchers, and farmers out there working pretty hard in this heat and providing food for all of us, and just a little bit of time to thank them for their hard work and appreciation for what they do for us. And that's all I have to say.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ron. Yeah, be safe out there, guys. The trucks are running pretty quick. I noticed they might be a little on time or behind time, so try to watch out for them and make sure you're watching the roads for tractors and combines and all of that. We have no petitions or proclamations. We'll move on to public comments. If County Administrator General Dockendorf would read the rules, please.
For the Open Meetings Act, KSA 75-4317 and 75-4318A, as the elected board, the county commission is not allowed to meet or make any decisions without posting the meeting. They are only allowed to act on items on the agenda which they set. During the regular meeting, the county commission may allow for public comments on items not listed on the approved agenda. It is at the discretion of the county commission if they allow comments on agenda items. If you wish to provide comments, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address. If you are online, raise your hand and we will unmute you. Please state your name and address. Each person may speak for 3 minutes. The allotted time will start after the speaker has given his or her name and address. Public comments shall be addressed to the county commission only and not to the speaker or the audience. Only the county commission will be permitted to ask the speaker questions. The public comment period is not a back and forth discussion with the county commission. You should make your views and input known to them, but it is not a time to ask them questions. You should not expect them to respond to your comments. Comments may express support or agreement with the previous speakers, but in the interest of time, please do not repeat the same information. You may state something to the effect of your name and address and you agree with the previous speaker. It is important to maintain a respectful, non-threatening atmosphere for anyone who would like to speak. Please do not engage in such actions as cheering, booing, clapping, insults, threats, etc.
Thank you. Janelle, I don't actually see it on our screens.
Oh, who's on site?
Yes.
Let me get this to move over. Okay, well, apparently it's just going to go little by little.
But you can.
There we go.
Questions, but
Yes.
don't see any.
Nope, not so far.
Seeing no public comments, we'll go ahead and move on to the reports of county officers. County Administrator Janelle Dockendorf, go ahead.
Commissioners, just as a reminder, for the sale of fireworks, sales are permitted between June 27th and July 4th from licensed vendors, and this year it happens to be for July 5th as well. Discharge of fireworks from July 1st to July 5th of this year. County permits are not needed to discharge outside the city limits, but please check with your city for its rules and regulations with regards to the sale and to the discharge. Public Works Department continues to pave on Old 40 from Solomon to Abilene, weather permitting, and also the plant permitting, because that's been down a few times. Currently, they're hauling sand for dust control as well, because they're not paving today. Mowing continues in the southern part of the county, Hope and Harrington areas. Schilling has notified us that they are moving the start date for the overlay project on 1400 Avenue at Eden Road to July 7th. So I think they were picking up on some other projects and then they'll move over.
Okay.
Just a reminder, if you are building in the county, a permit is required, and please contact Tim Hamilton, our planning and zoning director. He's been working with the appraiser staff and then working with anybody that did not receive a permit. Just contact him and he'll get that taken care of. The emergency manager is working on the emergency operations plan that's due later this year. And a reminder, county offices will be closed tomorrow, July 4th, in observance of the 4th of July. And we hope everyone has a happy and safe 4th.
Absolutely. Happy Independence Day. County Councilor Doug Thompson.
Thank you.
Morning, Doug.
Morning. Today, what I did was I filed with the to send off with the post office for about 50 parcels of real estate for the tax sale that'll be coming up. And so those are being sent out and they will be signing for those documents. And so we're moving forward with that, and we're going to keep going until at such time as we get the tax work and the what we need to for the closing on this, and then we'll be done with that part of it, and we'll go to the next year.
Okay.
That's all I've got right now.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
No notices, no introductions or unfinished business, but we do have some other business. It'd be the appointment of individuals to oversee the destruction of ballots. We have that provided in your packet, commissioners. Looks like for the Republican Party, Chancey Smith would be appointed to observe that, and from the Democratic Party, Seth Johnson. This would be effective today, July 3rd, 2025. Any discussion on that?
Well, there's just a certain time period that the destruction of ballots take place. So I guess for clarification, if someone's listening in the public, I mean, it's not the ballots from last election, for example. So there's a review.
There's a retention for ballots. So the retention for ballots is usually 22 months.
Correct.
There is some for special elections that you have to keep for 6 months. So it depends on the election, but there is a statute for each of those. When that time comes, then we would ask Chancey or Seth, I was gonna say Smith, to come in and watch us get rid of them. And then they go to the shred, and then we walk the shred with the shred guy out when he comes once a month.
And then we do keep the ballots for that period of time, and they're in a secure, sealed with that specific election and so on. So,
Yep.
Which is state guidelines or state rules, actually.
Yep. And then this is in line with the statute for county commissioners to actually designate the people that would oversee that process. So this is within state statute, in other words.
Yep.
Does it require backup in case these aren't available or anything like that in the statute?
Not that I read, I guess it wouldn't hurt, but
I just question.
We would just have to appoint someone if it was a unforeseen circumstance like that.
Right.
But probably the same formula. If it was a Republican that couldn't be there, we'd find another Republican or Democrat,
Right.
reach out, or your office would.
yes, we would probably reach out and then let you guys know.
Do I hear a motion to go ahead and pass this?
I'd so move.
Second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Here we go. Sorry. Okay. I move that county commission recess into executive session for 20 minutes for the purpose to discuss personal matters with non-elected personnel, mid-year review of the county administrator, pursuant to KSA 75-4319B. The executive session shall include the county commission. The regular meeting will resume at 11:30. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Break for executive 1 minute.
Give me a second to get this shut
Something
off.
a little quick. We motion back into session. We do.
I'll make a motion that we return to regular session from executive session.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we are going to, I'm going to move that the county commission, so now that we're back in session, I will move that the county commission recess into executive session for a period of, I think, 10, 20 minutes, 15 minutes for the purpose of discuss personal matters and non-elected personnel, as well as contract for non-elected personnel for the mid-review of the county administrator pursuant to KSA 75-4319B. The executive session shall include the county commission and the county administrator, Janelle Dockendorf. This will resume regular meeting at 47. We'll exit at 11:32. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll break at 11:32 for another executive session.
15 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. 15 minutes, yeah. Thank you. 30 just seems a little bit too.
I understand that, yes. Okay, it's not time to start.
No, just a few seconds. 8 seconds too soon. I move to return to regular commission meeting at 11:53.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We do have an aye from Lynn. No, we did agree to set an agenda to review the contract for county administrator at the end of the year in December, and we will have a open meeting about that at that time.
You can't have an open meeting once.
Oh, you can, I forgot.
You can't what now?
No, we can't have an open meeting with contract.
Not an elected official.
We've agreed to review the county administrator's contract in December.
But we'll have agenda items to consider.
Yes, yes.
And that's the normal time we actually do that. So
Forgive me. I'm new. I gotta quit saying that. Eventually, it's not gonna work anymore. All right. I'd motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
second.
All, which one?
Lynn got it.
Lynn got it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.